So what I wanted to do for this video was just talk about the NES Classic Edition, and I'm going to be emulating a couple of those games as gameplay background, or just one, but alas, it will be emulated and shown, and it's basically what you're going to get on the NES Classic Edition, just on a PC. And for anyone who's upset with this, I assure you, I actually own the cartridge. I actually physically own it. It's in my hand, and I promise you, I'm not illegally emulating a game. I actually own this game, and I absolutely love it. I almost own every game that the NES Classic Edition has, and when I buy the system, I will legally own every game on the system, therefore emulating any of them is 100% within my rights. So I just wanted to throw that out there because a lot of individuals want to decry that emulation is piracy, etc., whatever. I'm not here to argue that. I'm here to weigh in my thoughts on the shortages of the NES Classic Edition, and I want to give you an alternative. First, the alternative. Let's begin by just saying that if you Googled on eBay, you just searched up eBay on Google, looked up computer, look up Pentium 4 PC on eBay, and you'll probably find plenty of computers that are under $100, but you'll find plenty more computers that are under $50. Now, the NES Classic Edition is priced at about $60. That's a pretty decent price. It's the price of a new game, but you could get yourself a computer that is essentially almost obsolete. It can run Windows XP pretty well, but it's definitely not going to be upgrading to Windows 10, and if you do, you're risking bricking your computer because it's just not going to work well. It's not going to be able to run it because Windows 10 requires about 2 gigabytes of RAM to run effectively, and then you have to put your programs you're running on top of it. So if you're getting a computer with maybe 1 gig to 2 gigs of RAM, it's not going to work. What you're looking for is a machine with Windows XP on it, and you're trying to pay under $60. And there's plenty of tutorials on YouTube about how to make yourself an NES Classic, but basically all you're going to do is Google that up, look for that on eBay or Amazon or whatever, and then you're going to look for a USB NES controller, and there you go. You've got yourself an emulation station. As long as the hard drive is working, the NES ROM collection is not very big. You could probably fit it on, I want to say maybe 1 to 2 gigabytes worth of a flash drive. I have my entire NES library backed up on a Mario flash drive. It's not that difficult to get this. This is not as pretty or cool or as nostalgic as a front-loading type of program that is executed on a very simplistic emulation machine that doesn't make noise, is very slim and small, and looks just like an NES. But it is the same exact thing. And if you have owned those games at one point in time, you're not technically breaking the law because you owned those games at one point in time. I'm not going to direct you on how to get ROMs. That should be easy enough. You've got Google right there. Do your research, do your homework. But I'm telling you, within 5 minutes of receiving that thing off of eBay, all it takes is plugging in the controller, making sure the driver installs right, and then downloading yourself the emulation program and getting yourself the ROMs. And if you already own the games, again, it shouldn't be difficult for you to figure out how to get a backup of your said game. So it really perplexes me when I see these things selling like hotcakes, as if emulation hasn't been a thing. But I think I understand exactly what it is. It's the same reason consoles still sell when PCs are infinitely superior. And I'm not shitting on consoles. I have every fucking console, and I've bought every damn console under the sun because I just fucking love gaming, man. And I'm sorry if that triggers some PC elitist, but I do have a very nice PC too to play PC games on. It's just that's my hobby. I love doing that stuff, and it's because people, they're lazy. They're stupid, and I hate to say that way, but you can cure stupidity with a little bit of research on Google. And I'm not above this. I'm not a genius or anything like that. I have a rough time with a lot of things on PC myself, but I use Google and I learn. And I think a lot of people just want to turn on a console and have that front-loaded program there to just, here, I'm just going to press up and down on my controller and press a button and it's going to work. And again, don't get me wrong. When I like to sleep in and my daughter wakes up, it's like 6 a.m. and I'm super tired from working all night. Look, man, I really don't feel like getting up. So if I can let her play like Xbox or something, I don't have to worry about her, hey, Dad, this program started. Hey, Dad, it didn't work. It locked up. It froze up. You can use everything on a controller to fix those things. With a mouse and a keyboard and a computer, it's a little bit more difficult. Not impossible, and definitely not hard to learn, but for a child who's consistently forgetting things, it is definitely difficult to teach a child how to become an effective PC gamer, especially when their attention span is very short and they're switching games left and right. It's not like you can train them about the frame rate, the resolutions, and doing things just right. So I think a big front-loading program is really the biggest draw. You can just plug it in, the front-loading program takes care of it, you just press a button and play the game. And honestly, I think that's why a lot of people really want the NES Classic, because all it is a button press away and you're playing Mario, you're playing Zelda, you're playing Metroid, you're playing the games you grew up on. And this generation definitely has never played on an NES unless their parents or their friends or whatever was saved back for them to actually do so. And that is an extremely rare case scenario. Sure, a lot of people have heard about it, sure, they've even seen it, but have they actually had the physical experience of pushing the power button, picking up the controller, and playing next to someone? Probably not. Again, I implore you to search eBay, check, get yourself a nice cheap PC, make sure it works, make sure it has Windows XP, because XP has still been getting updates, even though Microsoft has stated that they won't be continuing updates, and you can just plug in the NES controller, get your emulation station going for much cheaper, and more than likely, because it's such an underpowered system, the Pentium 4 was kind of a heat consumer, but we have a lot of aftermarket solutions these days. You can look up things to make the computer look better, seem nicer, and you can even get yourself one of those smaller version of computers, something like an HP Compact or a Dell Optiplex, or something very slimline that was essentially a bank computer or a cash register computer, and it'll still do the same thing, because we're talking about the NES here. We're talking about 8-bit graphics. It's not really advanced. Even your old laptop, if it has an output to it and you can output it to your TV and HDMI, or hell, even VGA graphic stylings will work. As I want to interject here and state, very importantly, you may need to get an HDMI converter for that VGA output for the simple computer you're going to buy. But again, eBay is there to offer a very simple solution. So just do your research. It's not that difficult to figure out. You have one plug out and you get a little box that accepts that plug, plug it in, and then you take the other plug, plug it in, and then you put the last plug to your TV, and it magically works. I know, it's rocket science these days. Things are even color coded. Blue to blue and silver to silver. I know, it's really crazy, and I don't mean to patronize you guys. I really don't. I'm not trying to, but at the same time, there's so many individuals out there who won't mess with computers because they're just so afraid of messing around and doing something wrong and breaking their machine. And don't get me wrong, I understand how intimidating it can be to get into the guts of a computer that is your mother or father's, and it's the only computer in the house, and your parents don't much care about replacing it if you bust it. Well, guess what, little Johnny? You're kind of screwed out of Skype and your PC games because you decided to go rooting around in the computer. But eventually, you're going to have to get your hands wet to learn anything. You don't learn how to drive just by looking at a car. You actually have to get into it, and you actually have to do something. You can watch someone do it, you can watch people build PCs all day on the computer, and you might have an idea, but eventually, you're going to have to actually get in there, start doing repairs, fixing it up, to get an idea of what to do. So don't be intimidated if this is your first project. If you say to yourself, you just want an emulation station, just something that's going to emulate games for you, this probably would be the easiest thing to do. If you would like to build your own emulation station, I would strongly suggest using more modernized computer parts, and you don't need anything powerful. You could buy a used computer even and just use that, a more modern version, but you're probably going to spend a little bit more, probably $100 to $200 for a used PC that is more modernized. You don't really have to spend that, as I've stated before. Pentium 4 will work just fine, and it won't lag or bog down your system. Just make sure Windows XP is on it, because I'm pretty sure Windows 95 and 98 wouldn't be the best idea to load ROMs onto it. Again, remember guys, we're trying to use a USB from a modernized PC to get the ROMs onto it, unless you really feel like surfing the internet on Windows 98. And in that case, good luck, because you're probably going to get quite a few viruses. XP is okay on that, which is why I'm recommending you get Windows XP on the system you're going to buy. But yeah, don't go any lower than that. I think I've covered all my bases. If you have anything to contribute to the discussion, let me know in the comment section below. And as always, I've been your host, Protomario. Good gaming, and God bless. Have yourselves a great day. I hope you guys honestly have a good day.